and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. As ever, I'm joined by my industry colleagues. My name's David Warburton, by the way, but I'm joined by my industry colleagues, Mr. James Kendall and Mr. Ian Story, all-round legends and fantastic estate agents. Lads, how's your week been? I think we'll go to Ian.
Story, how's your week been?
Well, it's been a week of TCA Mastermind, JK, hasn't it, in Manchester? There's stuff bubbling away in the office, nothing particularly too exciting. I did a second viewing on our Bond Villain house on Monday morning with a cash buyer who, I mean, how many times have you said this in 25 years? They'll buy that.
Yeah.
I mean, she was saying, the lady who viewed it was saying, I studied this when I went to bed last night and we haven't stopped talking about it and the dog loves it. I haven't heard from them.
Completely ghosted you.
Yeah. So, but then he did know I was away until Thursday. On Monday, he got me out of office. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for bothering you when you were away." So maybe it's that. Anyway, we'll see. But no, we're gonna have a great end to the year, JK. We've had an amazing year. So really, it's just about setting up for next year now. Keep getting the pipeline as healthy as we can going into next year, because it's by having a really healthy opening pipeline in January that's given us the great results that we've had in the last couple of years. So,
yeah.
The lads in the office are pushing to get some stuff agreed into the pipeline. And then our sales progressor, Laura, is, oh my God, she's had an absolute nightmare with getting exchanges over the line in the last couple of weeks. I think we had 8 fall throughs a couple of weeks ago. And just so hard getting exchanges through. Plus, another thing that's happened this week, actually, I don't think I told you about, is we've got a chain where the property at the bottom is a £2.5 million place.
Right, at the bottom of the chain.
Bottom. It's being bought by a cash buyer, then they're buying, she's downsizing, and then those people are buying another one. So we've got 2 in the chain, but not the £2.5 million one.
Right, okay.
It's about like 30 grand in fees, probably. And it's come to light this week that the agent selling that £2.5 million didn't do source of funds checks on the buyer. She just did a bank statement check like 10 weeks ago.
Wow.
So, I mean, absolutely appalling. I was absolutely livid with it, because I think we bust our balls doing source of funds and proof of funds, and we get buyers having a go at us, because of how detailed we are with it. And there's agents like that who purport to be fancy pants. I won't go into it too much, but it's it's really, really annoyed me. It hasn't fallen through, but it's been very, very frustrating,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with their classic 1%ers, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and you know what? I actually went to that £2.5 million one, and I lost
too expensive.
it.
Doing it properly is too expensive.
Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Looks
anyway,
like it. How's that working out for you, darling?
Yeah, exactly. But no. Overall, JK, in terms of our week, for me personally, it's been amazing because of hopefully that interest in the Bond Villain house, and then a brilliant couple of days in Manchester with TCA.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, good. Again, just echoing what you've said, it's been great to spend some time with you, Dave, Michelle, obviously the TCA members as well. Got to see a couple of our friends at Street as well. Had a quick chat and caught up with a few people there. So that was nice. But yeah, no, really, really good few days in Manchester. Always come away with a bit of a buzz when you see people that are, so energized, and, it's like a light bulb that goes off in their head that, it's kind of, the whole data exercise keeps you accountable for the things that sometimes that you should be tracking and you should be looking at, but you kind of bury your head in the sand a little bit as a business owner. I know that I certainly used to do that back in the day, and you can't run away from the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. I know we kind of purport that for our valuations, but when it actually comes to, running a business is a numbers game, whether you like it or not, and you do have to learn to be able to make sense of the numbers. And, there are a few key metrics that you can just look at that, if you look after them, generally the rest kind of looks after itself, even not takes after itself, looks after itself. But yeah, no, pretty good. Just on sales progression as well. You have to excuse me as well. Hopefully I don't cough too much in this podcast. I seem to have picked up a Mancunian cough. Whenever I come up to see you guys in Manchester, you can guarantee 2 things. I get ill and it rains. They're like
Yeah.
the two
Well,
rules for coming to Manchester.
this is what happens to soft Southerners, JK. I'm sorry to say,
The
you're not the
irony
first.
is that both my parents' ancestors, one's from Scotland and one's from Yorkshire. Like, so I've got northern
Oh,
blood.
wow. You got a bit of blood in you, yeah.
Yeah, got that northern blood, but it's clearly not carrying me in good stead when I step off the train platform in Piccadilly. It's like my immune system shuts down. But no, really good couple of days there. Just to echo again, sales progression. We are really just so frustrating. We've got some really good solicitors that we work closely with, and they are fantastic. And they, we have motored along, and there's a dependent sale below that has been going on for I think probably 8 weeks before we agreed our sales at the top, and there's a deed of variation needed for something to do with the road, and then all of a sudden, we're well, where were we? I can't remember where we were. Last week, we were just waiting for the DOV to be done, and that was supposedly ready to go. And then literally, the solicitor at the bottom has raised a load of random inquiries that they've had for 16 weeks that they could have done 16 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Everyone's set their sights on moving next Friday, so a week tomorrow. There's no way that's going to happen. Not with the best one in the world. Why would you detail so many inquiries like that? So I said to the seller, look, we've got to get onto the buyers at the bottom and the sellers at the bottom. Because again, it's another classic example where everyone puts you on Rightmove, don't they? That's what state agency is. Just put it on Rightmove and
Sure.
and when it comes to actually getting it through, like classic example again today, I've looked on the WhatsApp this morning and we've got another, like, again, similar to you, not the same sort of value, only like 400-500 grand, I think it is, but didn't use us because we were too expensive, but is now coming to us for all the updates on her sale that she sold through the crap agent at 0.75%.
Yeah, mate.
So what we have been doing is just pushing her back to the agent, and the agent said to her, well, you have to ring your solicitor. Just have to ring your solicitor. Like, and I actually said, that is what you get for less than 1%. So you remember when you were choosing between 2% and 1%, well, 2% and 0.75%. This is what you chose.
Yeah.
And now we're having to pick up the pieces for your bad decision making. I didn't quite say that, but
no.
But yeah, in a nice way. No one wants to get a 1-star review for delivering the truth, do they?
No.
So that's frustrating. I thought I'd sold one at 900, and they're dithering about a bit now, and they've said they're not sure whether they want to buy a thatch, which is frustrating. But it's okay. We'll sell it. I've spoken to the sellers, and we've got another plan for January. Another classic viewing again. Rich did a viewing for me last weekend, and literally they said, "Oh, we love it. We'll be in touch on Monday." Oh, it's Thursday now. Like, we've rang them twice. We've texted them. We've sent them a WhatsApp. Like, just let us know whether you want to buy it or not. I don't care if they want to buy it. Just the seller's going, oh, I thought. And the thing is, we never say to sellers, oh yeah, they're going to buy it. They're going to make an offer, unless they've actually physically made an offer. But no, we said, it went well, and they've got a few others to see, but they're then on, waiting for feedback. What's going on? What was the feedback? How did it go? So yeah, a little bit frustrating on that. Should we just, before we move on to Dave's week and how Dave's week's been, shall we just dive into a bit more into maybe Mastermind and what came out of the Mastermind, what people are seeing around the country, the aftermath of the budget, and what the general kind of consensus is around the country?
Yeah, I mean, as ever with these masterminds, people are seeing very similar challenges, aren't they? We're all facing agents who are quoting 1% or less. We're all facing agents who are overcharging. I think we all saw a bit of a lull leading up to the budget, with people being a bit unsure about moving plans, and then now it's Christmas. Although there is still activity across the board. We put one on yesterday, £1 million. It was a barn. JK,
No way.
I'm surprised to hear.
That really surprises me.
Yeah. And I think that'll get interest, and there's an interest on other things as well. So there is still interest, and I think everyone's seeing a similar kind of picture. What is always self-evident, especially with these end of year planning masterminds, is how much people get from sitting down and analysing the data. And what surprises them sometimes, positive and negative, it can be positive or negative, but it's so vital. And we spoke to so many members, didn't we, who learned so much from that session and are now pumped for next year, because whether it reveals something positive or negative for them, it's taught them something.
Yeah.
And whether that's to do with conversion rate, average fee, average property price, have they got the right team in place? That was a big one for some members.
Yeah.
It really taught them a lot. And we've had messages since, haven't we, about how pumped people are for next year because they've
Yes.
learned something they can implement.
I think one of the big things for it as well was finding their, without trying to sound too cheesy, was finding their North Star.
Yeah.
What it is that they're actually, why are they doing what they're doing? Are you just on a hamster wheel doing a business for the sake of the business? But ultimately, why? What is, it sounds. I used to cringe when I used to hear people say this, but what is your why? But
I did.
a lot
But
of
it's
people
true,
think
isn't it?
it's a Lamborghini or a massive house
Yes.
on 5 acres. And don't get me wrong, like if that floats your boat, great. But that doesn't have to be it. You do need to dig deep and just think about what's important to you. So, if you're a mum that owns a business, maybe it's being able to employ people that means you can be out of the business more, so you can do the school run, you can pick the kids up from school. You can, and that's not exclusive to mums, by the way. That's that's dads and mums. I'm very lucky that in a position that I'm in now, I can do the school run every day. I can pick the kids up. We split picking the kids up from school and dropping them off. Actually, I do drop off every day. And the thing is, you don't realise actually like how much of a privilege like the little things are like that. So,
Yeah.
I know you always
Mate.
say to me, that your kids are only young once.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that we meet, I remember going to an old boy a little while back, well in his probably 70s, 80s, and we were just got talking about kids, and their grandkids and stuff. And he was really mega successful, away from home a lot, and really kind of, I suppose, that old school relationship where Mrs. stayed at home and was the homemaker, and Mr. was kind of the breadwinner, went out, went into London, earned the money, and missed his kids growing up. And he was very much along the lines of, don't take it for granted. And
Yeah.
I think also with my other half as well, she's a teacher, so she has to leave in the morning very early every day.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get to do the school run, and that always bothers her. Which is why I brought it up on the pod just then and said about mum, because the women do get something. I'm very aware of it now, but wasn't aware of it before. It wasn't on my radar. They call it mum guilt, where they want to drop them off to school. Because I think naturally maybe women are more maternal with kids and stuff than sometimes we can be. Certainly, I'm speaking for personal experience here anyway.
No, I'm going to say, it's common. It is common that,
And you just see it as another job to do. But then actually, when you actually think about it, like in the morning, I actually really enjoy. You get up in the morning, you do the breakfast with the kids, and you get in the car, and you can have a conversation. Even with them fighting in the back on the way to school, and this, that, and the other. But like, or some mornings we've got like a little playlist in the car. We'll have a little sing song on the way to school and stuff. Like, and just to bring it back to what we were talking about. That can be your North Star. It doesn't have to be a Lamborghini. It can be the ability to take your kids to school in the morning and pick them up every day, finish a little bit early, wait till your partner comes home if you've got support or whatever, and then, work a bit later in the evening if you need to, and catch up later. Maybe that is what floats your boat and, helps you do what it is you want to do. Just going back to the data as well, a few people were quite surprised when I think we told them the conversion rate was too high.
Yeah.
And just breaking that down. And I think that shocked a couple of people. And just to kind of, I suppose, explain ourselves a little bit and what we mean by that, because you surely, if you knew you could convert 100% of the time, everything, you'd be laughing. But, it's, and the other thing is always understanding your conversion rate. It's not your vanity conversion rate, it's your gross conversion rate. So everything that you go out to, as a business, what do you convert? Don't tell yourself, oh, well, it didn't come on the market, so it doesn't count. Or it was just a probate valuation, it didn't come on, that doesn't count. Oh, they were doing an extension, that doesn't count. It's, you can't do your figures on what might happen because you don't know until you get there, which is why gross conversion is so important. But if your gross conversion rate is like 60, 70%, the fact of the matter is you're too cheap.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true. That there was a few light bulb moments like that, wasn't there, throughout? Just touching on what you were talking about with your why. I've just got back myself from doing the school run, and every Thursday when we record the pod, we're always like, "Oh, I'm just on the way back from the school run, gonna grab a coffee, lads." And you're right that I think in the future, I'm not going to look back, and you're not going to look back and think, "God, I wish I'd done one more valuation that day. I really wish I'd." You know what I mean? You're going to think, "Oh God, I'm really glad I took the kids to school most days, or picked them up most days," because that's what you, on your deathbed, that's what you'll think. So it's creating a business that allows you to do what you want to do, doesn't it? And having a team in place.
Yeah, the other thing, again, I learned from you a little while back was about holidays again as well. And there was a few people there as well. We talked about when was the last time you had a holiday? How many holidays have you had this year? And because there's a few people that we were speaking to, and they were talking about they're really ready for a holiday now, but they hadn't been away. They had an odd day off in the year, but they hadn't. I think you do need to break it up. Like I think you do every 8 weeks now, but well, that's what it feels like. But but shouldn't take that away. Again, looking back, like obviously say that in jest as well, but you're not going to look back if you're on your deathbed in your 70s or 80s and go, oh, do you know what? Definitely took too many holidays. Like you don't, do you?
No, you don't. The key thing though is having built the team to the stage where the team are happy and enjoying what they're doing, and then that frees you up.
Yeah.
You can't take too many holidays if you've not got all that in place, otherwise you won't have a business to come back to.
And that's exactly it. So when you're thinking about your North Star and what's important to you, it's then ultimately right, okay, in order for me to be able to take the kids to school every day. So let's say, for example, if you're an owner operator, you have got to think about what's important to you. So for example, if it is spending more time with your children or growing your business, we had this conversation as well, didn't we? And I think we've said it on the pod before about who your first hire should be.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
And that's whether your viewing assistant, your admin, someone maybe to answer the phone. Obviously, we've got Street AI now as well, which is brilliant at answering calls. So maybe that could be a small stepping stone for somebody in the beginning. If you just want to take your kids to school in the morning, having the AI there in the background in the first instance. But your first hire really should be someone to free you up, someone that's really good that can do viewings. Self-employment of viewing assistants really gives you flexibility as a business as well. So if you are just starting to grow, obviously it's crucial to get the right sort of person in place before you obviously start to, because you don't want to just get somebody on minimum wage that's never been an estate agent before, doesn't have any experience with people or anything like that. They're going to be representing you and your business. They need to be the ones that are ultimately bringing in the business for you, basically. Well, not bringing in the business. That's wrong. Sorry, I don't mean bringing in the business. They're the ones that are freeing you up to allow you to bring in the business.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say bring in the bacon, and then I was going to. Then my head was thinking, what the fuck is he on about? No idea what he's on about. No, yeah, you're quite right. I think the two things that the two sort of roles we discussed with a lot of members, or some members who were thinking about who their first hire should be, was viewing specialist and sales progression.
Yeah.
Because when you start, like I did, like you did, you do everything, don't you?
Yeah.
And the two things you should definitely get rid of to the right people, first of all, is a viewing specialist and sales progression. But I need to stress that they have to be the right people. There's nothing worse than turning up to view a house with some smelly old bloke who's no idea what he's doing, or some spotty teenager who doesn't give a toss. It needs to be the right kind of person. And the stories we've got a good group of them, and they're all a certain demographic. They're all in a certain kind of age range. They're all good with people. They've all been successful in their own right. Yeah, sort of up until that point.
Yeah.
They all represent the brand well. They all believe in what we do. They all share in the success. They're all coming on our Christmas night out on Friday, for example.
Nice.
Tomorrow, Jesus, So the right sort of person is essential. And then with sales progression, obviously you need someone that enjoys the process and managing the process, but someone who's good with relationship building,
Yeah.
because you can a computer could manage to a certain degree the process, but the relationship with the client and managing the two parties so that they don't alienate each other,
Yeah.
getting it through that process is not an easy job.
No, definitely
So
not.
having the right person to do that, whether it's outsourced or whether it's in the business, I
I
think
think
those two key.
outsourcing does give you flexibility, because I think a lot of people that are in that
Yeah.
owner operator position where they're worried about cash flow, upfront fees massively help with that. But also outsourcing viewings again. So if you do have a bit of a quieter month, you haven't got to worry about consistently paying a salary, because you're paying them for what they're actually doing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then sales progression, if you outsource sales progression. Now, I've not had a great experience. I know you've had a much more positive experience with outsourcing your sales progression, but paying somebody on a result and paying them on completion, is way better from a cash flow perspective. You're trying to grow your business, being able to have viewing assistant self-employed, sales progression self-employed effectively, you can really free up your cash flow to allow you to grow the business and move things forward. In terms of the mastermind again as well, I know we hadn't kind of planned to say this, and I know I'd mentioned it to you briefly when we were having a 25-minute walk across Manchester.
Which you were grateful for
Yeah.
afterwards. You said, yeah. You
I must admit, when
Southerners,
I'm with you guys, I mean, look, if you think about where I was at the start of the year, and how much
in
weight I've
Bedford.
lost.
You were in Bedford, weren't you?
Yeah, I was indeed.
Yeah.
And then you look at where I am now, healthier choices has definitely had an impact. And whenever I go to Manchester to see you guys, I know if we go out for something to eat, I'll be fine afterwards, because we'll do a 55-minute hike back to the hotel afterwards. So I eat my body weight in Ivy Asia cuisine and then spent 55 minutes doing a mini marathon across Manchester. The only thing I was disappointed is I didn't get the medal for doing the Manchester Marathon at the weekend. But yeah, just making healthier choices. Anyway, when we were talking and chatting, your new valuer Matt obviously popped into the mastermind to see us for a little bit, and I thought overall he was just a really impressive guy. And
Yeah.
what was great was he's come from 1%,
Yeah.
and he's now Mr. 2%, charging upfront
Yeah.
fees.
Yeah.
And what a great advert for It's Just Mindset.
Yeah.
So we've done our weeks. I'm delighted to say that David Warburton is now in the building.
You're 22 minutes in, and you've all just finished your weeks.
As your week? No, we haven't. That was the joke, mate. If you'd have been here on time, you'd have known.
Listen, I've been having connection issues, and you started early, so it's your fault.
You're not even dressed.
What? Don't tell the people that.
Dave, how the hell has your week been?
Really good, lads. Really, really good. Obviously, you've probably discussed a bit of it already, but still on a high after a mastermind event. It was great over in Manchester to see everybody, hear how everybody's doing, and put down some roots for next year. Absolutely brilliant. In terms of the EA side of it, yeah, pretty good, JK. I mean, I think we were talking about it, but I keep saying it, lots of quality over quantity. That said, November for us was one of the busiest of the year, to be honest with you. We had, I suppose at times it felt quieter, but then we had a burst of valuations, especially when the letters went out. I think post-budget as well, we had a few sort of signs that things were picking up a little bit and that people were now starting to move. But yeah, a lot of what I've been going out to has been really, really good quality. People looking to make decisions most likely in the new year, but looking for advice on what to do, to be honest with you, whether to do it now or whether to hang fire in the new year. So yeah, all good. Sales, a couple of sales in this week, and I've got two launching. I mean, Ian, I think you and I were discussing the other day. In fact, three of us were discussing the other day over breakfast about, do you launch now or do you wait until the new year? But I've got a couple of clients that are time bound, looking to make moves before April. So naturally, you need as much time as you can get. And I think speaking to the room as well, with a few people saying the same thing, they're quite busy. They can see activity. Why not launch now? Which is unusual for December. And I think I think a large percentage of me would say you're probably better off waiting to the new year or between Christmas and New Year. But I don't think there's any harm because there's definitely activity out there. And our viewing books, our viewing diaries are full. So, yeah.
Booked 4 vowels already so far this month. 2 off the letters. One obviously the other day while we were live in the room. Another one yesterday. And this morning, I've got a really nice one to go to. Farmhouse. Again, I know we mentioned acreage before, but on a few acres. They've bought it. They've done quite a bit to it. And they're keen to maybe have a completely sort of change of lifestyle. This is somebody that I showed around a house, 3.5 years ago. Stayed in touch on WhatsApp. Didn't buy this through me, by the way. When he was buying this, he actually asked, because we got on so well, he asked me for my advice. I gave him a bit of advice on WhatsApp, had a couple of phone calls, connected on LinkedIn. And we've just been in touch like ever since. A few bits and pieces. He knows a few people that had looked to move in the area. And I've just given him a bit of advice, given his friends a bit of advice, asked for nothing in return. Then he just rang me up the other day and said, "We're thinking about moving. Do you want to come around and tell me what it's worth?" And I'd imagine it's going to be somewhere between 1.5 and 2. But really nice position. Just sold a barn close by as well. So great social proof. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the diary here, we've got a few people off on annual leave because we're trying to get people to use up the holiday, but it's caught us out a little bit because it has started to get a bit busier. Another couple of take-ons. So we got another 3-bed detached that's come on. Another large semi that's come on. That's going to be styled today. Pre-styled today, and then photographed next week. We've had a luxury 3-bedroom detached bungalow ring. Again, not somebody I went out to 3 times in the last 4 years, and now they've decided now is the right time. So they just text while I was away and said, "Can we just press the button and get it on the market?" So we've done that. Got Val in tomorrow as well. I mean, it's unusual for December. Just looking through the diary and seeing all these things that we've got in and booked in and ready to go. And I'm not obviously not going to complain. It's good to be busy, and obviously if you can get, and we talked about it on the mastermind. When we were talking about going through figures, the value of your on market stock, if you want to call it that, your on market fees, will ultimately are going to dictate your result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, like I said, we discussed it, didn't we? We're saying a lot of people don't keep an eye on it. And actually, when I'm not digging anybody out here, but when I asked that question in the room, I don't think everybody could answer, like to the penny. And I think it's probably something that you should be keeping an eye on very, very regularly, and the team should definitely know it as well. We have it on the whiteboards, so everybody can see it every single day. And obviously, if you're discussing the stock regularly and understanding what perhaps needs price realignment, things like that, that is definitely your go-to for your next sale, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's there waiting to be sold. We all chase new instructions, and you should have your regular lead gen strategy in place to consistently book valuations. But what you've already got, it is your best asset, isn't it? Go out and sell it.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at our the nice thing about Street is obviously it's all there for you as well. So your on market fees are always there. But it's good to have an idea on what you can sell and convert. And you're looking at even your Rightmove page can tell you a story. How many you've got available for sale against how many are SSTC. That will give you a good litmus test to how you're actually performing as a business. So if you've got 100 listings and you've only got 15 sold, then you've got a conversion problem, 15%.
Yeah, I mean, worrying. That would be worrying if we had those sorts of numbers. Yeah, I mean, it varies, doesn't it? I think at a better time in the last couple of years, we've probably been something like 60-40, or maybe even 70-30 available. SSTC to available. I think now more like 50-50. I think as long as you're around those kind of levels, it's fine. If it slips too far the other way, then you've got a problem. You're overvaluing stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I think we're about 65% at the moment.
I think we're 66.
Sorry, I said 67. I think I said. Don't want to say that number around my kids. Bloody, I'm literally that 6-7 stuff is
Oh
absolutely
my
doing my head
God.
in. Also, we do, for the listeners, we do have a confession to make. Now, the start of the podcast, you heard Dave Warburton said, "Lads, how the hell has your week been?" Dave was not here, as you probably figured out.
Have you
Giving the
actually?
game away.
Have you put that over? Are you putting it over the top?
I am, yeah.
Why didn't you introduce it yourself?
Huh?
That's a good
Because we
question.
thought you were going to be here 5-10 minutes earlier than you were.
Yeah, but
Like, we've been recording 25 minutes, half an hour. Like, literally, you were like, "Oh, lads, I'll be here in 10 minutes." Half an hour later, got connection issues. Can't wait till Bolton gets 5G.
You know how to say the words. You could have just introduced
Clearly you
yourself.
don't, most weeks.
Dave will be joining us shortly. For now, welcome to the Complete Agent
We didn't think we'd have to. We didn't think we'd have to. Because you're like, "Lads, only 10 minutes. Hi, mate. Dave here."
I'm not from the Wirral.
Huh? That's how you sound.
My good
Say,
God.
do me a favour, quickly, just say, "How now, brown cow?"
How now, brown cow?
Exactly, you can't, can you? How now, brown cow? That's how you'd say it where you are.
I will say it.
Go on.
How now, brown cow?
See? That, and just for reference, anyone that's still tuned into this and hasn't turned it off, that was Dave and not me.
Oh, God. Honestly. Anyway.
So was there anything else that came out of the mastermind? We talked quite a bit about, going into the numbers, Dave, and what the revelations were for a lot of people. And if you've got a too high conversion rate, you're probably not charging enough. In terms of if you're not getting enough valuations, are you sending up letters out? There's a few little bits we kind of unpacked without going too deep into detail. Was there anything that you think would add real value to anyone listening?
I think, obviously, when you get into the detail, which we won't do, obviously, which you may well have already done that. But going through the detailed statistical data is absolutely imperative because it highlights your weaknesses and also your strengths. And you've just alluded to it there. If your conversion rate's too high, then you're probably too expensive, things like that. If your cancellations are high. Probably too cheap. Sorry. If you're expensive. If you're expensive with a high conversion rate, wow.
100% conversion.
Cancellation rates, withdrawal rates, they all tell a story. And I think, obviously, as Michelle was pointing out at the time, and we put in big letters on the screen, it's not just a number. How does that actually relate to what's happening in the business and what does it mean to you? And I think what came out for me, lads, as well, is not just the numbers, but the mindset of people and individuals, structures and processes. We obviously related it all back to our ARC process that we've put in place. And obviously it highlights gaps, doesn't it? And I think that's one of the things. We could all fill a day talking, and we probably could have done another 2 days and really got more out of it, I think, because there's so many components to what we do and what others are trying to implement, and to really get into the detail with everybody, I thought was quite good. I loved the breakout sessions as well, where people could actually sit down. Again, you're in a room with non-compete agents and you can be very open about what's good, what's bad. So it was really great to be able to sit down both individually with members and as a group collective and share things, because you'll also pull out some nuggets of things that other agents are doing really well and some that aren't and are struggling to implement. But what becomes really clear to me is when people have gaps and they go through the numbers and they highlight it. And there were a couple of people in the room, let's be honest, who said they weren't happy with the numbers once they'd done the process. But I think a big revelation for me, for a lot of people, was you need to be doing this very, very consistently. I mean, I would argue that you should do your numbers daily, not weekly or monthly, because once you get past a certain point in time, you can't go back in time and fix things. So I was sort of saying that if you don't have the time, which a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs won't, get somebody else to just do it. It's probably a 5 or 10 minute job for someone every single day just to pull the data off your CRM and put it in a 1-column spreadsheet under certain headings. And what that does is identifies trends really, really early on, particularly if you've got a problem. If you want to get into mega detail, I mean, as you know, I'm from a corporate background, and my old area manager, his spreadsheet was something to behold. You know, it was all formulated, and it was weekly, monthly, and annually. So at any point in the diary, you know, you could see where you were at against your preset target for the entire year. And it would turn red if you were behind. It would stay clear if you were on target, and it would be green if you were ahead. So, you know, I'm not suggesting everybody does that, but it's just by collating the numbers daily, sharing them with your team as well. That's another revelation. Not everybody does that, and keeping an eye on where you're at. I think it's a really important task that somebody does that, because, as I say, if you're underperforming, or you find out that you've not booked enough valuations at the end of the month, well, it's too late, isn't it? And if you can identify it early enough, you can focus the team and their energy, and they like it too.
Yeah, one of the things that we haven't discussed so far on the pod, Dave, is that we shared we shared with our members our blueprint, didn't we? Basically, which is our ARC process for everything we do. You know, from the very start of the business, really. You know, with how you look, all the way through to the sale completing and you banking the money.
Yeah.
And we shared every little thing that we do all the way through that process that gives us the success that we get. And it was a revelation for a lot of people. You know, when we were saying to people, you don't need to do everything that we do straight away, but do try and implement one or two or three things. And, you know, a lot of members are already doing quite a lot of these things already. But there's definitely areas, you know, for growth, isn't there, that we highlighted with members. And that will just lead to better financial results. But consistency across the board is the key. That's the key, you know, and that's how you shine.
Yeah, it is. And having the mix that we always talk about. But there are so many things, Ian. I mean, it looks quite detailed when we put the arc together. But actually, once implemented, once you go through that process, certainly the initial process for sure, of how you look and stuff like that, it does become a lot easier. It just becomes second nature, doesn't it? It's like the letters. You know, how overwhelming must it sound to handwrite, hand stamp, and then pack 9,000 envelopes every quarter, as well as write the letter. That's, you know, quite long, 6 pages. It sounds like an overwhelming task, but actually, once you've nailed the format, it becomes very, very straightforward. So, you know, it's something that anybody can follow, really. You've just got to actually do it, implement it.
Yeah, what we talked about before you came on earlier, Dave, was finding your why, you know, and what you're really looking to achieve from your business, whether it's more time or more time with your kids, more holidays, more money, you know, a certain car, a certain house, you know, what are you looking for? And if you can try and find that, it makes things a lot easier, I think, because it gives you a reason, you know.
Yes, 100%.
So
And
that's powerful.
Yeah, I've always struggled with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, finding, you know, what am I doing? What am I doing all this for? And it can be quite difficult, really. But once you sort of nail something down, it does become quite powerful. And even have you talked about sort of tweaking the numbers and understanding what they mean, and then
No, not really. No.
So that's another thing. I mean, obviously, once you've been through the data and you understand what your numbers are, what you can always also do then is forward plan. So that might sound like an obvious statement, but if you know the numbers and know where you're quite weak, but also know where you're quite strong, and what a really slight tweak to your business model would do, you can easily project forward for the next 12 months. Ian, you and I were doing it away from the group, and we were looking at yours, weren't we? And I think you looked at, we won't go into the numbers, but simply by chasing a certain style of house and maybe upping the average house price that you're going to at the moment would generate almost, was it 250,000, something stupid? So I don't want to go into the numbers, but yeah, something ridiculous. It might add another 250 grand to your revenue, and that's the sort of thing that it might highlight. You might have a 70% conversion rate, but would be doing 1% fees. You know, if you had a 35% conversion rate and we're doing 2% fees, well, you'll be less busy and you get more time to do other things and add more, implement more things.
Probably got better clients as well at that sort of money.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. You're not a busy fool running after everything. And
the other thing I thought, Dave, was that, you know, even with the exercise we did at the end of the day, the three of us were, you know, analysing where we were at and seeing what things we could change. You know, and obviously we run successful businesses, and you should never stop that process. You should never get complacent that things are fine. And like you say, I did a couple of exercises about what areas do we want to change or improve, or what areas can we grow in. You know, you should never sit still. That's the key. You've got to always look for the next thing. And I know you two are the same. But whenever we sell a house, my mind flips to where's the next one. You know, I never get complacent ever. That's the key.
Yeah, you know, it's so true. That is so true. And again, the lead generation strategies looks after that, doesn't it? I do think a lot of people do it. They've got a lot of valuations in the diary, a lot of instructions, and then all of a sudden, I've said before, you'll see them on TikTok and Instagram doing styling videos because they're trying to get some advice videos and things like that. When actually those are brilliant, but they should be done all year round. You know, if you go onto the Instagram feed, they've not actually done any blogs or styling videos for 3 months because they've been so busy. And now when they're quiet, they think that might just all of a sudden bring a rush of valuations to the table. So yeah, it's a big thing that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, we are going to be recording a special 100th episode podcast, aren't we? Next week on video. So we're going to put that out live on socials and on obviously the usual platforms as well. So looking forward to doing that. Obviously looking forward to meeting up with you guys again next week for a few exciting TCA developments that we've got. Some real, we're really sort of moving the needle with TCA now. And so if there's any point anyone's on the fence and thinking about this might be a good fit for them, then definitely let us know sooner rather than later. So I think that's about it for this week, lads.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.